And it was 27,000 per year last year.
That's a lot of money.
So it went from 27 to 30, 38 because they used it more than whatever that exceeded their limit.
Okay, we should be up and running now. Okay,
Sure. Good deal.
good deal.
Morning, everyone.
Let me get over where
It's time to call the
Well, it's good that
November
you're looking.
issue of the Agriculture Committee in Loudon County to order. Starting right off, beginning is an FYI for everybody. Here in the committee and out there in YouTube land, that the December committee will, because of the way the calendar lies, we will have one more Ag Committee meeting in 2021. It's on the 30th, is that the date?
28.
29th. So one more for the road. Also have a move down here in the agenda, a reappointment to the Senator Carroll RC&D Council. Soil and water member, Alan Fagan, is recommended name would be put forth.
Yeah.
Been moved by Supervisor Kale, is there a second? One second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed to it, that's okay. Next item, county, excuse me, county forest lands. Eric Sawinski, who is unable to attend today, so I would presume we're going to move this report to next month or the 8th.
He's gonna provide an update, but then he also wanted you to know the second bullet there.
Yeah, that there is a had stopped because it got wet. And I don't know exactly how much they got out, but certainly they did not get out what they wanted to cut. So that either when it gets froze up, then they can get back in there, or it may have to wait until next spring, summer. But the plan, it's just gonna be delayed because of weather, but that's farming for you. So,
He'll get it eventually.
yep. Page 2, we can get to the animal control report, and I would like to welcome back Russell Goodell.
Want me to come up there?
If you would love to, we would be thrilled to have you. We're missing you.
Well,
And, if you're glad you're back and feeling better.
yeah, I start back officially January 3rd. So they want me off another month. I had some nerve things going on in my hands and feet. I wanted to just get cleared up before hauling dogs around. So I wanted to bring, while I've been home, my grandmother passed away a few years ago. She was 97. And I inherited her whole chest. And to be honest, I glanced through it when I first got it, just never tore it apart. While I've been home, I tore it apart. And in it, I found dog licenses back in the 1940s. So then I started bringing them, because often people come in and say, my dog is here and I need a license. When do we have to start licensing dogs? Well, I'm gonna take a break and say. And on top of it all, they moved around a lot back in those days. 2 of them are Allegheny County, 1 is Livingston, and 1 is Wyoming. So it will show them that it's just Wyoming County that does it. So I thought I'd pass it around. It's really, and I'm named after grandma, so that's my maiden name and my name. So
Thanks.
I thought it was so cool when I found it.
I hope you got a place on your wall for that.
I do, I already had, I had to go down it because my son hung it for me. I said, you take it down and take the owl down. Yeah. So I thought that'd be, so when people say, well, I don't think we had to do that, I'm gonna say, yes. this is
Fees are all the
cool."
same, but divided by the state, they're all $2 a quart.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, that's,
So the price really hasn't gone up
No.
when you really think about it.
Not really.
well, it's $2.25, I think, is the license, and he was an unneutered male, so I don't know if they even just deciphered the difference back then like they do now.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that, yeah.
Quite a bit of money back then.
Yeah.
So things have been going good. Any questions about the report? They were busy doing dangerous dog complaints. We had a couple conference meetings at my kitchen table with a lot of paperwork and helping them get it all together. And Sam did his first solo one in Pike, and he was so nervous. They got home, he was still shaky. Then I got a call from the judge, and he said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And I thought, boy, he must have really put. He says, "I'm only going to say one sentence." He said, "Chip off the old block." I said, "So things went well?" He goes, "Absolutely." So I was pleased because it's a lot to do. So, but then he was a part of the Attica one, just for one of them, and the rest, and that Orangeville one. So he's been involved, and actually the Gainesville one. Some of it went to court, and some of it just didn't take it. So he's coming along really well.
So,
I will be back.
you have a copy of this?
Yes, I do.
You submit this, and we'll read that, over how many,
Yeah, sure. 15 dogs were seized in, from November 1st to last night at 6:30. That's why I went down this morning. Or 15 people. Attica had 2, Cottington 1, Perry 2, Sheldon 2, and Warsaw 8, which was a lot worse. 5 dangerous dog complaints, and Pikes 1, 2 in Attica, 1 in Orangeville, 1 in Gainesville. And then there was 3, I thought there was 2 community service workers, but Gerald told me there was 3, so I changed that. And about 40 people come in and walk dogs. So 40, there's about 8 or 9 that are the same, but they come in a couple times a week. So I just kind of do an approximate on that.
I do have a report here that, we really hadn't seen for the past 2 months while you've been away, and, I'll just go through them quick here. There were 95 calls, received in September, with 13 dogs seized, and, in October, there must have been something really going on in October, 188 calls with 11 dogs seized, spread throughout the county, with a volunteer approximation of participation of 25. So you could count a day's worth, or just an individual when they come and help you?
I count how many come in per day. So, and then I add it up.
During both of these months, we had a fair number of volunteers.
That's a busy place.
Keep this thing going right.
Yeah, a lot of walk dogs. The only thing a volunteer does at the shelter is walk dogs. And if we don't have a current rabies on the dog, they can't walk that dog. So if it's an unknown, so we picked it up at 10 o'clock at night and they come in the next day and he's friendly. Until we have a piece of paper that says he's current rabies. You never know how they'll react to someone new with a leash or a car, or say step on his foot or whatever. I don't want to be having a dog at the shelter quarantined because we didn't do it, so. If they're surrendered and they have them, and sometimes it takes a few days to get them up to date. So, and if it's an unknown, like it's a stray, we have to hold them for 7 days before he's actually county property. So I always wait until the 7 days is up. So it's really the only people that can walk a stray are staff until the quarantine, until that 7 days is up. Then it's legally ours, then I get the rabies shut down. Hopefully it gets cleaned in that 7 days and we don't have to worry about it. So. But yeah.
Public playground, working out.
It's very good. It's nice. Yeah, I have, on my Christmas present list was a portable power washer. And so I already got it in the mail. The Sam's says, we're not at that. So we can go out with battery powered and kind of rinse it out because it's mud and dogs.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's going really well. So trying to think of anything else. They're working on a roof, but I haven't been down there, so I'm not sure what part they're working on. Looks like the edge cases or something. So that's coming along.
Mike said they're finished up.
It looks like they are, yeah. I think they can only work on good days because it's slippery up there, so. Yeah, other than that, I think it's been going really well.
I found in there, I stopped a couple of times and asked if they were okay.
Yeah,
I see all right. How's she doing? She's doing fine.
yeah, I will tell you, I don't mean to sound dramatic, but I feel like I've come back from the dead. I got really sick, really sick, so been a long haul back. I had no idea, and I did not have the shot. For a couple of reasons, I've been in remission with my brain tumor for a long time now. And when I called up, when it first came, I called up to Roswell and said, do you recommend us who in this state I'm in, get it? And at that time, there was so much unknown. They told me, why don't you call us back in a couple of months, just to be proactive and make sure. Well, on my bad I was got busy, and I got so used to wearing and protecting and eliminating, exposure, that I didn't think I had to worry. So they think I had that variant that was from the south. Whatever, there's only names now out there. So, and the cognitive thinking was incredibly dramatic for me. I couldn't even finish a sentence at home. So it's just taking a while to, there was some, organs started to show signs of problems, all the blood work was going back. So first month home, I think I was on oxygen 8 weeks at home. So it's just taken me a while I've seen so many doctors. Thank God I have insurance. I'm so thankful for my job. Because I don't know, and the hospital was great when I went in. I really didn't think I was that sick. I just knew it was beyond where Sam was. He was going the other way back. And I was like, why am I stuck and feeling worse? Then there was, some other things going on he didn't have. And I'm thinking, I better have him looked at. Well, and then when she pulled that thing off my chest, she says, you're not leaving here. I'm like 2/3 of my lungs have been taken over by it. So, yeah, it's kind of scary.
Well,
I'm getting there. I'm the other way now, but
good. Any other questions for Justin or comments on Justin?
I got a question I should say, Brian.
yeah,
Is that SPCA still in operation and added up?
yeah, and they're primarily cats, and I do think it's doing okay. I've never
I
heard.
mean, that that's a bad PR, let's just say, last decade.
Yes, I do know that I was actually, it's a good time to bring this up too. I was contacted a couple times wanting to know if the county would go back to doing some funding. We used to participate in,
Yeah.
and I pretty much said the reason why we did that was through vouchers that you'd gone out and checked on dogs that were in bad situation. They're not doing anymore. We do all of that. So I said, you're welcome to bring it to the board, but my feeling is that we would just be sponsoring a group and there's a lot of Wyoming County groups out there that aren't affiliated. I mean, they've got the name, but they're not run by us. So, so they just said, well, I've got you on the phone. We've got some stuff we want to donate to dogs because we don't keep dogs up here. We've got a lot of stuff. So one day, I think Daryl downloaded some stuff on the bench and he called me and said, you know where that's from? I said, it may be from them because they do that. So, I haven't heard any negative, but they're very limited on what, if they're just cats.
As far as I know, that's all.
And I do know there's a new president, which is, that's another thing, their board is always rotating.
And they got the board of directors and all.
Yes, yeah, I do know there's a new
Really no
board.
consistency in.
So the new president,
Hmm?
do you know who the president is?
Yeah, she works for the county.
Introduce yourself. Actually.
Yeah, I don't know if it's temporary or what,
Yes, sir.
but there was something in her fall. I don't know what it was. They haven't followed up there. They do that, I don't know, people get their teeth in and they can't see it any other way and then they get mad and it's just rotating. It's hard to have a consistent bylaws and stuff when you're always changing your people,
Yeah.
So while we're on this subject, I've been called probably 8 times in about 4 weeks from the town of Freedom, their dog control officer. And the first one was, would I take a dog that they had running free and they had nowhere to take it? So and I was home, she called my home, and I said, well, what have you been normally doing? And she said, we contracted with Cattaraugus County SPCA, but they won't answer my call. So if I pick a dog up a gas station. I call and say, I'm bringing your dog in, is someone there? No one will call him back, and she has no place to take him. So apparently for about a month, there's been a dog free roaming there that the neighbors are feeding in a barn. And she wanted to know if they could bring it in. And it's not just on, I said to her, if it was on Bray Road, which is kind of the county line for us, I would wonder if it was our county dog anyways and bring it in, but it's way into Freedom. And I said, you really need to work this out. So whoever your supervisor is, pull in his house and say, hey, I got a dog in my car. And they won't answer my call. So she said, would the county, Wyoming County, be willing to contract with us? And I said, well, you have to work that out with your town, but I'm sure that they would at least sit down and have a conversation. So she said, what would you do for us? And I said, the only thing that I'm gonna recommend, unless the board tells me different, to do is that you transport the dog to us, and from there we take it, and your hands are off it. Somebody claims their dog, they claim it, go to their town clerk, license it, take it home, just like we do. They don't claim it, it goes up for adoption, we process it just like it's a county dog. But I said, that was the only thing I'm not gonna go in, I don't recommend Daryl and I going into Freedom picking up dogs in barnyards, we don't even know that area, it's out, I'm really careful about leaving the county with a truck, I wouldn't
You
want
get
to
the
be.
freedom, you get on the far side, you're all the way to Farmersville.
That's- So she thought that, because she has to transport to the SPCA in Catarocts County.
Yeah.
So she would already be doing the same thing she's doing. So I said, what are you paying then? She said $150 a dog. So the Catarocts County sends out a voucher or bill for $150 for every dog that they take in. So I thought, well, that revenue wouldn't be bad for us. So I said, how many dogs? It's just under 20. So that wouldn't cause a problem at the shelter. We have more than enough room. So I said, you better work this out with your town. And when you get to that point, call me back and I'll introduce you to my ag board and you guys can talk about it. So last night, 10 o'clock at night, I get a call from her. She wants to know if I'll meet her at a sick home. I don't even know where, with a black lab. And she said, can you please just help me? And I said, number one, I'm not working, which I told her every 8 calls she's called me. I'm really not on. But I was more than willing to talk. Number 2, we're not coming into Freedom and taking the dog, but we're not taking the dog deliberately from your town. You need to work this out. I mean, I would never do it without coming to you anyways. There have been dogs on Bray Road that we have picked up that I'm pretty sure were Freedom dogs, but they were already in Wyoming County. So I got them, and people come and claim them from Freedom, but they're on Bray Road, which is, but I'm not gonna go, I don't even know where the sick hole was, at 10 o'clock at night, black lab, so. She said,
Where do you get your calls on?
No, the dog control does. I think her last name is Willard.
Probably there on 98.
Denise something.
So, yeah.
Wouldn't you know, I pick up the phone, I should have.
I'm thinking sleep is kind of older than
You?
you. You don't sit the line on, she's down in Hume, so you're way out.
I thought that or is there
Like her
another?
foot, isn't
At 98 Bolero,
That's
so I
one
was,
horse, that's a Bolero.
I know, but,
On 98,
yeah.
I think it may have been that then, but I know how far to go on 98.
I think you're right, though. She needs to bring them down to South
Absolutely, I
Warsaw.
mean, that's a
Yeah,
lot of work.
She's
Yeah.
the dog catcher.
right,
What else would
You
you be
know?
doing?
What do you do with them if you catch them? You gotta move
right.
Yeah, and I don't-
Over here.
I don't think there's that many people in the town that do it, she's taking in, you know what I mean, it's not a busy job, she has a full-time job, so this is part-time. But she says, gosh, I thought she made me feel bad, she said, I thought you love dogs, why wouldn't you come again? If this is a Wyoming County dog, I would
Hey,
be
Justin.
on our way, like,
Remember
O'clock at night.
those dog people that came from, I think it was, Fillmore and Hume.
oh,
3 of those girls, they came with the girl from Perry, remember? Oh, Melissa? Hampshire, yeah. But, yeah, one of those girls was a dog catcher in Hume,
yes.
but that's Allegheny County.
Yeah. So I just told her, you work it out with your town. I've gone up and talked to the town clerk. Remember, I spent a Saturday with the judges and the town clerk and a supervisor, I don't know if it's the same one. And we walked through the ag market law and how court should be done, because they had a case there with a really bad bite, and then somebody got really infected and nobody did anything, it was a mess. So I showed them where there was some real loopholes they just didn't do right, so. So since then, it's a new dog control officer. I think there's some kind of, are they putting windmills in up there? Is there a windmill?
Some point.
Yeah, 'cause I think she's against them and their supervisor, she went on about, they're
The
not,
new supervisor is Dustin Bliss,
okay,
okay, Rob Bliss is.
Oh. yeah,
That's his son,
okay,
and, his wife worked for, our nurses, public health. Ronaldo was a home health child nurse. But, this is his son, they own, a farm on, right on Maple Road,
Okay.
big dairy farm.
Yeah.
He's the new supervisor,
okay,
and he's pro with it.
yeah, I think she might,
There's a big divide.
it's not for them, and they're, she would feel comfortable going and seeing them, I said, that should make no difference, you're doing the job, and I'm sure,
What does a windmill have to do with?
that's what I said,
Pick up a dog, and if we wanna, I don't see a problem with, executing an agreement with the town of Freedom.
Right.
Specifics, and it's a revenue stream.
yes, right, yeah.
So long as you're okay with it.
And as long as we have room.
That was gonna be my question to you. You have looked at the numbers that they're telling you, and you wouldn't have a problem
No.
overloading. You don't think it would
No.
pose an issue to,
I don't, I just,
we've got
I,
to service our own to take that on. If we can work out the revenue stream, like you said, with whatever number you want to put on that per dog would be fine. So the committee here is apprised that probably it's your recommendation, to push, to move forward if they want to
Okay.
contact us.
I will tell her,
Thinking you're getting consensus here to at least pursue it
Yeah, okay.
and see if we can't come up with an agreement.
Along with that, I don't know where the shared services program is with the state of New York anymore, but this is a shared service.
Yeah, but keeping in mind, in order to take advantage of the matching funds grant, you have to adopt a plan, and then you have to implement.
Are they even doing that anymore, or anything on it?
They are. I think there's one more year.
okay, I will let her
I
know.
want to leave you with
Whatever.
a feeling of
Shared services.
could work
Sounded good.
No, I'm sorry with you guys, I don't see no problem with it.
I don't either.
plan and
Yeah.
numbers.
As long as we got the,
And
Right.
bring these folks
here, but I have,
Right,
in
exactly.
and come up with an agreement.
that became.
Well, I'm not, I will tell her that, I'm not gonna go looking for other towns, but if they come to me, yes, I
I
agree.
think that's our purpose here, to go looking for town.
Yeah.
Make a suggestion. I mean, I don't, you guys
Yeah.
correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but I don't know if we actually need to bring people in from the town of Freedom and make it a big deal.
Mhm.
I think if we can figure out what our terms are, and we talk to the county attorney's office about how the agreement should look to us, because it really should be in our favor, because it is a favor. And if they like the agreement, and when you bring it back here and this committee likes the agreement, then they can authorize it and it'll go forward.
I may reach out to the supervisor, just to let him know I'm getting calls from her, I am concerned for her, doesn't know what to do, but
He's a
I,
good guy.
it's, okay, I will let him know, we're more than willing to entertain. She said the agreement that they had with
Gotta be a
the
big
state
farm
is
boy.
30 days, they could change, they could cancel out, she's wondering if somewhere along the line they did, and she wasn't told, I can't imagine that, but, yeah.
So we can agree to that.
It has to be with the town of Freedom anyway, because they're the ones that hired their dog,
Yeah,
dog catcher. You know,
Yeah.
control officer, whatever she's called.
Whatever you want to, what phrase you want to call them today.
So,
okay, I'll at least tell her that she told me last night,
Dog control.
so. I can flag that the night before last or something, lost track, but she's called me multiple times, wants to know what I can do. They have already, I took them up our warning tickets, our law, so they had things to look at. So they got a lot of what I already shared with them. I told her that we would have no different conditions than we already do for our dogs. It's the price is gonna be the same, but getting them out is gonna have to be licensed and up to date on rabies, all that stuff. We just follow the same thing once they're in our building, just they're going back home to freedom.
And she's bringing the dogs to you, so you're not chasing.
Yep, I told her absolutely, I wouldn't recommend it. Daryl and I are out there in the middle of freedom, in the middle of the night. It's not our home, so we really shouldn't be there. But
So
she says, I have no problem bringing them.
this makes me wonder about this because what the town of Yorkshire, Catawba County,
Mhm.
takes care of their dogs. You
I think-
can't tell me there aren't any stray dogs in Yorkshire.
No, there are, because he calls us all.
Calls up you.
Yes, well, because, Tractor Supply, I think I picked a dog up from your county. I'll meet you at Tractor Supply. No, you picked it up, it's not your dog. If somebody in Ramsey County is missing your dog, we go round and round with him.
Right out of county line, you know?
Yes, and I said, so where, and then he tells me, Olean Road, okay, that's your county.
That's Catawba County.
So I'm not gonna take, it's just because he didn't want to process it.
Mhm.
I think, how far
Is
is?
there a dog catcher?
Yeah,
Olean's quite a ways.
it is a long ride, I think, from,
It is,
Yeah.
probably 40 minutes from Freedom. From Freedom.
Yeah,
Yorkshire?
all of that.
No, Olean.
Either SPCA.
And that's where the SPCA is, right?
yes.
Right on 16.
And I don't think they meet them at night. I think it's gotta be working hours, but I don't know what's in their contracts either. See, I would think that they're in a contract, they should be in 24/7 whenever there's a dog. You're receiving it, and that's how I would be. If she picked up a dog at midnight and called me, I'd meet her down there. I wouldn't say, well, you got her till 8 o'clock, because I'm gone today, because we're just not, we don't do that. So I did tell her kind of a framework of how we do it and how I would suggest it would be done with them. And she said, well, you're so much more organized than anywhere else we deal with.
I think that last time I was down to that SPCA down there, they were full and they had a lot of pit bulls.
Where's Olean? Or-
What is it? Yeah, outside of
It's
Olean.
between Olean and Hinsdale, I think,
Yeah,
16.
yeah.
I know where it is.
And I think they had 2 facilities
Really?
and they had the nice dogs at the one we went to visit.
Oh,
It was pretty sad.
yeah.
And then they wouldn't let us adopt one because I didn't vaccinate my cats for the rabies.
See,
No wonder they're low.
And it is, you're right, Cheryl, that is some of the reason why some of these places just can't get them out. Same thing, my parents have lived in Silver Springs since I was 2, at the house we're at. They probably had 6 dogs growing up, they got 1 now. They tried to adopt 3 different places. They're retired, they have no worries about money, and they could get a dog.
It's crazy.
I called her and said, I got a puppy, come in here. Nobody's thinking, would you like it? Then, of course, Bailey, so Bailey, well, and she's a having, she ended up being a purebred dog, I didn't even know, I never dealt with a breed before, so.
There was a problem in Attica with the SPCA there. I know people right in North Jacob went to adopt 2 cats and, well, you live next to the fire hall. Yeah, well, it'll scare the cats if the whistle. And that's why they didn't adopt the cats. And that's where they got pulled over in the news. You know, that kills them.
Well,
I mean, we do have some, not to take any more time, but we do ask a lot of questions, you have children, we want the dog to be, if you got another dog, we'd like to do a meet and greet. So you don't go home, you got a blood bath in your kitchen floor, can you financially take it from here? I don't want to get called a month from then and say, we're out of dog food.
Right.
Can you do this? If you're in an apartment, I'm not gonna let you have a hound in a 3rd floor apartment, because it's just gonna bark, and everybody crazy is gonna come back. So I do try to fit them in like a puzzle piece, but I don't go look at their car, I don't ask for their income, I don't ask for their wills, if the dog's gonna be put in the will, I don't ask all that stuff. I just want to make sure it's compatible for the environment, the dog.
Some of it's crazy stuff, like, is you got a fence, are you going to use, training devices, because, I mean, my dogs are on, training collars, but.
Yeah.
Once they're trained to the collar, you don't have to do anything.
There's some organizations that like those collars.
I know.
Mhm.
But in our situation, right, because it's a lifesaver, because if you yell at your dog and they don't respond, and you hit that tone, my dogs will stop dead in their tracks.
And once they're trained, yeah.
And it's a trainer.
Yeah, so I will, and you know, I'll reach out to her. I think I don't want to call her a supervisor and make her think, and then he talks to her and says, hey, dog control from, you know, Wyoming. I don't want to put her in a bad spot, but I do want to know what's going on because the calls, she's sounding so desperate and I feel bad.
Well, thank you for rising up to the situation as it is, and I think you've got direction,
Okay, I will do that.
committee to pursue what you need
Yeah.
pursued and so forth, and in the direction we would like to go if we need to.
Sure.
And if you, when you talk to the county attorney's office, if you have them draw up the agreement so that it's between the county of Wyoming and the town of Freedom, and have the Freedom Town supervisors, because that's the only way this can, the animal control officer really doesn't have the ability to sign those contracts in our eyes anyways.
So it would be him, I
She'll be forced to have that conversation with her town supervisor.
Yeah, which you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told her that, you know, go see him, tell him what's problems you're having, and see if you can work it out. You may find you're locked in a contract, you won't call me back. But if you aren't, and you're unhappy, and they're not fulfilling their end of it, or whatever's going on, call me, so, all right, well, thank you.
Again, Justin, thank you for returning.
Yeah.
State health.
I'm excited about getting back.
It ought to be a great holiday season for your family.
But my son said to me, how many years has it been since you didn't clean and feed Christmas Eve, Christmas? Because I never let any employees work on holidays. I've always done 25 years since I've had a Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day without being in the show, 25 years. So I said to Sam, I don't know if I can handle it. He says, you're not going down. You're just not. So,
Merry Christmas.
well, thank you.
Hey, Jess, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for working with the clerk, getting that problem solved in town of Gainesville.
Oh, I know. Hopefully it's solved. I pulled in there today with my private car, so I'm watching, so that's been a mess for you guys.
But she went to court again Monday, so we'll see what she made
Should
up.
have been fined $100 per dog. And how many dogs was there? 11?
Wow.
Oh, she had a lot, several.
This, you know, I'll tell you this, not the same thing as you had about eggs and market, because they are good people, but they're understaffed. And they're covering big areas, so these pet dealer licenses and inspecting these people who apply. And I made a mistake because I worked with this lady for about a month and she was improving. But then I turned it to egg and markets. I said, you need to look at this gal. She's it's not, I have no authority in this venue with the law, but you guys do. She scans the internet and takes dogs that people want to get rid of, their boxers, Old English bulldogs and bulldogs. And she works for Geneseo College as a secretary to somebody over there. And when she's not busy doing work, she's on the internet looking, I want to rehome my bulldog, I want my boxer. She contacts us and says she's a rescue. So when I got to the place, Memorial Day 2 years ago, I got a call that somebody had picked up a dog and they heard somebody yelling for it. They took it back up into her place and they said, you gotta see this place. So on my way to do afternoon chores on Memorial Day, I pulled in there and I just went crazy on this lady. I really did. She had dog pens that I put one dog in. She had 3 in and she had them double stacked. And she had 29 dogs on that piece of property that should have only had maybe 10. So she tells me she's a rescue after I worked with her a bit. And so I said, well, here's the signs of a rescue. You have a spay and neuter program, you have an adoption form, you have people coming in, you have a waste program, where do you put all this waste? Of course, they were standing in it, so I knew all these things I was saying to her were like, and she said, I feel so sorry for you. You ever watch those shows, those animal shows on TV when they go in and you find these horrible situations? Have you ever seen anything like that? I turned to her and I said, yes, I have. I'm standing in one right now. And she said, oh, took her breath away. What are you saying? I love these dogs. I said, you are what I call, I was honest with her. You are what I call an animal rescue reporter. You rescue because your heart is so big for them. You love them so much. And I said, but I'm going to tell you right now, I walked around and I showed her there's a chair behind here and she's using it for breeding, so that's going genetically to the next group of dogs. She had dogs with tumors, nobody was neutered, 29 dogs not neutered, but I don't breed. Really? Well, then why aren't they all neutered? And are you rehoming them unneutered? Well, I have trouble finding homes. Some of them have been there 5, 6 years. So then I find out she's from the town of Granger, and she got in hot water up there with zoning, and they don't even have zoning, they have this property, because I've been doing some research. They don't have a zoning there, but they have this property maintenance thing, and all the neighbors around there have beautiful manicured homes and yards, and right in the middle is a dump, and it's hers with all these dogs, so they've been turning her in, they went, so she fled there and come down here to her mother's place that got willed to her. And it was a beautiful little home, she's destroyed that place, that property's just, it's awful. So I turned it over to back bottom stories. I turned it over to Ag Marcus and said, you tell me what more I can do. She's divided them up now. I took her to court on 29 counts of unlicensed dogs. So she had to pay a fine then. Lisa and I worked together, his wife and I worked together on the whole thing. But she did comply. It wasn't the best of situations, but it was clean. There was dog food. All the things that I had jurisdiction over. So I turned it over to Ag Markets. So they went to see her, and they come to see me right in our driveway and said, don't go anymore, we're gonna work with her. Then there was a problem apparently with our inspector. Some kind of, I go out and inspect the facility, but I really don't go out, but I fill the forms out. So she got in trouble, and now they've taken our county out of her hands. This has all been in limbo. I'm going to go back there and check on these dogs. Now, then the licenses come due, that's what triggers to go back. And Ag Marcus kept telling me, leave it alone, we're working with her. And finally I said, I'm not leaving it alone anymore. I'm done. But zoning got involved, Alyssa got involved with the Cutcliffe, where they got, I mean, it was just way out of, I should have treated it like I had every case gone in with big boots with the sheriff's department and let the chips fall. I should have never turned it to Ag Marcus.
Has she realized that she's got a problem? Because I know you were doing, some hoarding classes and stuff like that, but she's not receptive to that at all.
And that's one of the problems with especially animal hoarding, is until they realize it, I mean, just watch those hoarding shows on TV, it's so gross. And I can't imagine living that way, but they don't see it. They're just it is such a mental illness, and I think it's more and more because there are more pressures in our society and losses seem bigger. And we cut ourselves off from each other. Family units aren't tight anymore, where you can keep track of it here. You just got all the cats down here, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's like everything with mental illnesses, everything's just peaking. No, she doesn't. So now she's moved out. She actually tore the house apart down and put a trailer in. Now she's moved out. She's only allowed 4 dogs. But if I ever go in there and find a situation like that anywhere in our county again, I will never turn it over to Ag Markets. I'll never do it. I'd rather have them slap my hand and say, you should have called me, but I'm gonna do the right thing for the animals. I'll take it from them before I'm gonna deal with what I dealt with there. I should have never done that. And I think myself, I never have before, but when you get told to, you just go along with it. Then it's right under our nose. I can almost see your property from the front of the shelter. It's like, oh my gosh. I was so frustrated for about a year and a half with this. And every time I call, we're working with her, we're working with her. I'm not doing it again. So, just so you know, I'm just gonna call Sheriff's Department and say, I got a problem here, let them take it. They always say to me, can you meet me out to the road? And then they'll say, what do I do? And I just walk them through. They go back and do it. But at least we get it. I mean, all those dogs that I shouldn't have all that. With 29 dogs, I should have put myself in check. I should have. And made her clean it up and make arrangements. That's a lot of dogs.
It might be therefore pay you just.
Yeah.
Turn back to the agenda.
Good to see.
Yeah.
Next on the paper is a general update with the Andy, I see you in.
I just wanted to thank you.
I apologize, we are interviewing for planning positions. I think we finally found someone, so that's exciting news, because we were without a local finance person for months now, so my finance people will be very happy that's happening before the end of the year. Financial reports are out. So a few quick updates, because all of you, later this week in your mailboxes will receive our annual report for the year from our annual meeting, as well as new issues from Homestead and Porch News, which will be in your mailboxes a little later this week. So just a few quick updates. So on the 4-H front, we are happy to report that we are seeing a bump in enrollment. So we were down a little bit in enrollment last year due to the pandemic. This year we're seeing a bit of a bump. What's most interesting about that is that we're seeing a lot of younger children and a lot of new families. So when we were at the fair, we interacted with a lot of people who were new to 4-H and wanted informational packets, and now we're seeing those people sign up, which is really exciting. The other thing that's a little exciting for us and not so exciting for some of our neighbors is that a lot of them are from neighboring counties. And so we're poaching some folks from, Counterogans and Chautauqua and Livingston, and so that's exciting. Largely on the basis of our presence at fair, and we have such a large 4-H program compared to some of those other associations, so that's great to see. On the ag side, we are about to launch into Maple School. The registration has remained pretty level for that, despite us not being able to do Maple School last year. But the amount of people who were there selling goods is down a little bit, which we anticipated. It's what we've seen for all of our Maple programming in the last year. So hopefully that will go back up again next year. People have had a little time to recover. We also have one new and one returning member on the Northwest New York team. So I think I mentioned this a couple of days ago, we hired a new dairy specialist, a bilingual dairy specialist by the name of Caitlin Lutz. She's out of Geneva. She's actually a veterinarian. And so that was quite the coup for us. She will be coming in hopefully to speak with all of you at some point. I'd like to bring them in the winter when it's a little quiet. She's already, Joan Benson and I took her on a tour of, I think we did 12 dairies in a day. So she's already had quite a Wyoming County tour and has been on farms and doing some liaison work with some farm workers for some of the local farm families. So I'd like to bring her at some point. And then Jody, who previously worked in dairy, was down in Tennessee for about 2 months, decided she didn't like it too much down there, and is going to come back as a dairy specialist with the Northwest team. So she'll be back. I'll be bringing her, Jody, our new person, Caitlin, and then Margaret, who's been on the team a while, and at some point they'd like to meet with all of you and talk about some of the things they're seeing on the dairies. So that's exciting news. Other than that, we are in our end of year reporting cycle for Cornell. So what that means is we'll be turning in all our statistics for all of our programming in Cornell for our reaccreditation for the year. And then right after the holidays, we jump into our actual accreditation period. So every 2 years, Cooperative Extension has to be reaccredited through the state, through Cornell, and we'll be starting that process right after January 1. So we have 3 new members at the board level that we elected at our annual meeting. They are Eric Pietzek, Shirley Spencer, and Alton Rogers. So we're excited to welcome them aboard. Our board president, Lyman, will be stepping down at the organizational meeting in January. Mr. Sherman Scott. We'll be very sad to see Lyman go, but it'll be interesting to see who we ultimately elect as our new president. That's pretty much all I've got. One thing I will say that we are seeing is, as COVID numbers creep back up, it's been hitting a lot of farm families, particularly we have some families with, multi-generational families where the older generation has been hospitalized or not been able to work on the farm for a little bit. So we're trying to help out where we can. And Joan's been doing some financial work with people just to make sure that everybody's set going into the holidays and into the winter. We're also seeing it in the office, and that's largely because a lot of staff with young children, and each school system seems to have a different quarantine policy. So I've had, people have to slip in and out for remote for a little bit. We'll see how we do in the winter, but we are seeing it in some of our ag families in terms of either them being quarantined, so not being able to, perform their normal duties on the farm, or we have people, families with hospitalizations that we're just keeping tabs on. And that's all I've got, unless anybody has any questions.
This morning on the news, they talked about a shortage of maple syrup. Is that real, or is that something making up?
So
I'm running out and get yours right now.
Exactly.
So our read on that, and we'll see how this shakes out, is no. Is there an actual shortage of maple syrup? No, in no way, especially because a lot of sales were down last year, so there's a lot that has been stored over the past year. The two things that have been issues is because the Northeast imports so much of its maple syrup from Canada, if you are looking for Canadian maple syrup, there is a bit of a lag and a shortage because, right, the border was closed, shipping issues. So Canadian maple syrup, probably in short supply. The other thing is, it's the supply chain issues with the actual stores themselves. If you go to any of our producers in county and you want maple syrup, they will be happy to provide you with maple syrup. So yes, conflicting reports on that, but do we have an actual shortage? No, it's sort of similar to when we didn't have a milk shortage, but it was hard to find milk in the grocery store. It's the same thing as happening now.
What it comes out to is the report's coming from Quebec.
Yeah.
Quebec is the biggest supplier. They have a short season. So they got a strategic reserve that they're dumping 500 million pounds out there or something like that.
Something like that.
And it's a way of control the pricing. So that, you know, there's a shortage and we don't get a spike in price for this season with, you know, they just dumped up too, just the last couple of weeks ago. I mean, it's the new season started out. They're gonna start out here in a month.
Right.
With the end. You know, so why are they dumping it? It's just to keep the price down so that the
New crop will be low.
next year's crop won't be the higher price. So
We've been comparing it to like the oil market. It's all artificially controlling, right? Like it's artificial control.
Quebec is the old back of syrup.
I was really quite shocked when I saw that as a story on the news, and must be a slow day or something, I don't.
It's not unlike OPEC, where like right now they're trying to control those prices out into the new season, especially out of Canada. So I think Cheryl said Christmas trees, we are seeing the same thing with Christmas trees in certain parts of the Northeast.
I think we grow them
It's the same thing, like there's an artificial price gouging for the Christmas trees depending on where you're at, so just look around. We heard there was gonna be that case for turkeys, but we didn't really see it in our part of the country. I heard down south there was like some serious turkey shortages, but not an issue. So hopefully, one thing that you may ultimately see, we'll see how spring shapes up, there may be an actual shortage in honey to start the year with, because honey this previous season, there was a lot of hive deaths occurring across the county, and so we did a lot of programming around that, and I wish we could identify like, oh, it's broodworm, oh, it's this, right? It was kind of a, you know, perfect storm of a lot of things, and that was based on, you know, we have a lot of new people to the hobby in the county, so some of it was just, you know, people learning. Some of it was that it was so wet that just wasn't great for bees generally. And so hopefully in the spring, you know, we'll see this year's hives a lot healthier, but we won't know until the spring. So honey, there may be like a legitimate local shortage, but maple syrup is all sort of like the oil of Quebec.
Locally, we're the maple syrup is in Arundel. We don't produce this area, we ship syrup out of here by the truck. So
That's right.
we don't have.
If you ever have trouble, like, let me know. That's it.
Hook you right up. Not a shortage.
Yeah.
Canned yesterday, all set for Christmas.
The one thing I will say, building off of kind of Justice, though, one thing we got a lot of calls about this last year with chickens. And I think that's gonna be an issue going forward again. So part of it was everybody was cooped up inside last year and driving each other a little crazy, I think. And so neighbors were more apt to complain than they normally be. But we are seeing a lot of people got chickens during the pandemic. A lot of them perhaps were not, you know, skilled at keeping those chickens contained. And so we've seen them wandering across property lines. Depending on your individual towns, there's not always a lot of rules regarding chickens. And so we were getting a lot of calls, and oftentimes we would have to turn them back over to either town officials or, you know, sometimes I get markets, depending on the scale of the problem. But a lot of questions about when can I shoot a chicken on my property? When can I declare that chicken my own chicken? Like when can I, right? So we have seen a lot of those questions. They've got, right, like, so we've handled most of them, and a lot of them, you know, like they either went through some conflict resolution or went to court, but I think it may be an issue going forward because a lot of people got chickens during the pandemic, and a lot of people aren't really quite sure what to do with them now that they got them.
Don advised him to call in the control unit here.
Well, so that was, so they would call animal control, they're like, we don't have chickens. And so at some point down the line, we would get the call, and thankfully, usually it involved Joe getting a couple people on the phone, or myself in a couple of cases. Just saying like, okay, let's talk, like, usually we could talk it through. We had some person who's very upset because a rooster kept attacking his wife. And so, in case of that rooster ultimately is no longer alive, but you know, we're having to answer a lot of legal questions.
Justin has plenty of stories about all kinds of animals that she gets called about, and probably chickens will be on her list.
Chickens and geese, we occasionally, I mean, geese are mean, as you all know, so we occasionally call about geese.
Geese, I understand.
Yeah.
Geese are mean.
Geese are mean.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I know how my grandmother would have handled that situation. I can share.
well, that was Jones, so I don't know how to deal with it, but, so we were having to do some chicken chatter with everybody. Most of them have now been resolved, but I anticipate once we go through winter again, it might be a. So that was my suggestion, was to not fly. So, and we always need to have a 4-H program, so I brought that up as well. But we'll be heading into unbelievably livestock, first round of livestock weigh-ins once we're out of the holidays, and back to relatively normal 4-H programming. Oh, the last thing I was gonna mention is we have a board meeting tomorrow night. We're gonna make some pretty serious decisions about camp. I don't anticipate we'll probably roll out the announcements after the holidays, just so that everybody sees it, but we're looking at some alternative programs if there are more people looking to move forward, but that'll come out after, you know, probably after the holidays.
Anything else for Randy? Nothing. Thank you very much for your report, and Merry Christmas to you.
You too. Thank you. I appreciate everyone. Happy holidays.
Okay, moving on the agenda, the next item is soil and water, which is not represented here today.
I didn't know if they would show up anyway, so.
Do we have these reports?
We do, they're attached. I have them hard copy here, but I have them both attached. Electronic.
So you have the option to look at those on your computer and your leisure. Questions about them? Suppose you could bring them next meeting about if anybody's got something they need to bring forward to Ellen. But these are final reports for your state of situation as of the end of 21.
For a couple of their projects, well, one's a newsletter and the other one's still on their projects.
Yep. Okay, over the page, move on here. Okay, dairy industry report. Well, to start out, I let you know that last week I was off to representing upstate Niagara cooperative off to the National Milk Producers Federation meeting in Las Vegas. And, you know, there's cooperatives represented from all over the country. So you can talk to anybody you want to talk to, from the Midwest to the Northwest to California to Florida, they're all there. And, you know, you can, as well as our other neighbors, Agmark and, you know, Northeast cooperatives. Pretty much exclusively cooperatives, not private companies or processors, just cooperatives, processing cooperatives for the most part. But their problems are the same as ours here in the Northeast, whether you talk with someone from Tillamook in the Great Northwest up there, or somebody in California. We've all got the same problems. You've been hearing about them. I keep reporting to you the supply chain thing and that's that sort of issue. Labor issues, of course, staffing the plants and so on and so forth. The resurgence of the COVID thing is beginning to have a continued effect on, you know, just ability to fill the production orders. Doesn't mean you don't have the milk. You've got to be able to handle it. You got to be able to put it through these processing plants and get the job done. Because a lot of, you know, the companies that are ordering things from our processors. They see a resurgence in the economy. There's things that are really moving better. But to get the products to the market is a problem. So you may or may not, I have not particularly seen any real issues with empty shelves here and there, but yes, certainly we can run into that, but certainly companies like Pepsi and Monster and a lot of dairy companies are just struggling with these issues of truck drivers and that sort of thing. Some of the interesting answers to this problem. I don't know if I was so keen on hearing about it, but there are companies out there that processing company or any company having labor issues could go to, and these folks will scan the globe, believe it or not, and they will go to some far off land and they will scoop up a whole bunch of people that want to come to the United States to work for whatever it is job you have. And they will bring, you need 24, they'll bring 24 people here. And they go through the process for you of, getting green cards, getting them through Riker Island or wherever you come into, the United States, give them the work permits that they need, and there's, what the numbers are of the permit that would give them permission to stay here and work and get them driver's licenses. The whole 9 yards, and then turn them loose.
I heard a comment on that, Stan.
And, yeah,
This, it's a cardboard box company up outside of, I don't know, William Street or something up there. And I guess they're housing people in UB's North Campus, I think. And they're bringing 29 Nicaraguans in every day. And they're paying them $6 an hour, and the government's picking up the difference.
Mhm.
And then they also have a bunch of Afghani refugees that they're also using that workforce, I should say. But it is a,
private entrepreneurship, trying to solve the problem is really the bottom line. I mean, it is not the government doing it for you. It is somebody that has got it in their head that they can go find these folks, bring them here to the United States, sell them all up, and the companies are responsible for, they're kind of, it's almost an indentured servitude that they agreed to work for a certain period of time, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, for that company doing that particular job, being a truck driver, an assembly, or whatever it could be. I
was reading
hear that
this.
there are dairy processing companies that are doing this.
I
We are not one.
also read that this is very competitive, not just with the United States, but other countries
Yeah.
drawing this labor capital.
Yeah, so fascinating, changing events are different, it's
Compensated slavery.
Mhm.
Only thing is.
Indentured servants.
Where
it,
back
yeah,
300 years ago, 400 years ago, they didn't want to come here. But hey, it's an opportunity, it's why America is the land of opportunity.
yep, so anyways, that was a very interesting thing to me, very eye-opening to me.
Get people to work here.
And
What is it?
done around. Some of the other things I learned while out there, nationally, our production is taking a shift. I've been reporting to you the last year or so about, too much milk, too much production, too many animals out there, herd is expanding. All of a sudden, within the last couple of months, there's been a shift in the dairy industry, and production has now across the country, not here, but across the country. Again, it's like Brian said, we got lots of maple syrup here, there's short somewhere, it's not here. Well, we've got plenty of milk here, but nationally, production has leveled off and actually dropped for the past 2 months by about about 0.5%. Which, actually, if you move the production over 2%, you really, that's not whole markets. So it is significant. Cattle are moving to slaughter, and much increased rate, yeah. And currently, the herd, national herd has declined about 37,000 head in the past couple of months, which is a significant movement. People are exiting the dairy business. For
Again, imagine a lot.
a number of reasons, so you can, you can, there's dozens of them.
Oh, yeah.
And they are, whether it's,
One money, one now.
yeah, probably towards the top of the list.
Yeah.
So, on the other side of that, of course, we're all running businesses and we've all noticed the costs. We're also, now you're beginning to hear in news, inflation, you know, the bad I word we haven't heard, they've called it everything but now it's inflation. And we certainly feel it, we see it in our pocketbooks. But what I'm here to tell you is, the charts that I saw both out west and just the other day here is that pricing is got to follow that. Okay, our feed costs are up, the soybean costs, corn, everything we feed those animals, the fuel costs, the trucking, now it's all gonna cost more. We are gonna have to have higher prices in dairy, and it is beginning to show up. Also, that little decline that I just mentioned also wakes people up that they want to start contracting their milk prices because they think they're going to hit. Estimate I heard yesterday was $19.50 across the board for 22, $19.50. We've been down in the $14.50 ranges where we were in the 70s. So this is an absolute needed adjustment, and we'll see what happens. It may over-adjust, something, that's the way the market works, but that was a forecast given yesterday, was that for the, you know, it comes and goes month by month through 22, but 1950, which would be a very welcome adjustment for the dairy farmers here. So that's pretty much it, I guess, from what I heard. Very interesting trip. I was appreciating being able to find out what's going on in the rest of the country and talk with folks with a little different accent than what we have. That's how it's kind of fun, you know. So that's it for there. Let's see. Probably the Fair Association has gone to sleep maybe and so forth for the year.
Oh, some have. Things are quiet. Still moving forward. We've got I would consider a fair-sized loan on our new building, but we hope to be receiving about $150,000 in grant money here sometime within the next few months. That'll offset the cost of that considerably, and we won't end up too bad. I'm not going to give a dollar amount yet, but considering the cost of the building, again, we'll be in good shape. They're really planning for August fair next month. It will be here before we know it.
Annual meetings next week.
The annual meeting is next week.
The Ag Business.
It'll be at the Ag and Business Center, 7:30. That meeting is open to anyone. Welcome input from the community.
Almost have one of our trees down there with the tree lighting, but
Yeah.
could make the connection,
Couldn't.
so, yeah, we were busy and I think we're in need of a tree right then and there, so. See Bill on our camera, he showed up. Sorry, not there. Almost.
Close.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody trigger any questions for Mike? So forth.
How's the bridge coming?
It's not my area. I have no idea. I don't want any part of the brick.
Don't need it until August.
That's right.
We'll learn about that tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was down there the other day and there's a lot of scaffolding, so they're getting ready to assemble it, I'm guessing.
Ellen said something about they told them that the steel was still an issue.
That's what Phil told me the last time I talked to him, but I saw the scaffolding there and I thought, well, must be going to assemble it there and then move it into place.
The reason I asked is see some vehicles back there the other day when I went, a couple weeks ago, when I went to the restaurant. I see some vehicles back there, so I figured there was some progress going on.
All right, moving on, anybody got anything to report on ag farmland protection? Anything here?
Just, we had a meeting 2 weeks ago. Not a whole lot, we're waiting for, I don't know, around 19 to come out, I guess now, for the next projects to be entered in, and we're still gonna plan on having come through the winter, the training that you have to attend. Everybody, if you wanna put your farm into it, everybody connected with that farm, their name's on the deed, has to come to that training. They usually have 2 of them. Maybe have that, so we're ready when it does come out.
Going through the extension, put notification to that out, is that it?
Yeah, that's probably do it. We're still waiting for, I know it's Table Rock, Sunny Knoll. Can't remember who else, maybe the Greg Farm or something, get completed. Swedes, I believe, has been completed, and Emerlings is gonna be done in early of 2022. They'll have their funds.
Very good. Anything on conservation from anybody? You're seeing nothing? That. So I guess we come to the end of our portion of this. I want to take just a minute. There's all of you. And everyone on Zoom and on the YouTube land, a very Merry Christmas. And a healthy new year. Any challenge?
Health is key.
I wish I for all of you. We support the local county Christmas tree growers. Decorate your house, home with real trees, wreaths, garland, etc. It's the thing to do, and it's, you don't need to store it for a year after the season is over. You can recycle it and do the green thing.
Yes.
Sam, I got one thing. This is how far behind I was on my reading. This is July 19th issue of the country. And I actually had my insurance policy, farm owner policy on top of it. I took it to take a look at it. Cover is Megan Hauser. Yeah, you guys all seen it?
Yeah, that was, they did that presentation down there. That was the day we had, Commissioner Ball was here.
Yeah.
And he took him down, Mike and I took him down to the fairground and showed him the barn. It's about 90 that day.
Mhm. It was quite warm.
Yeah, I think I was a horse bull that day. Whether something was going on.
There were Conservation Farm of the Year to State or something, that's what happened.
It's quite the article. It, I think it documents the importance of the agriculture in the county. And many years ago, Patrick Brennan, who was the commissioner of the New York State Ag and Markets, made a statement that Wyoming County has the most cutting edge farms in the country, not just in the state, but in the country. Period. So something to be proud of.
Had some conversations over at Soil and Water, about retaining our employees and what we want to do that. Daryl Ivy reached out to Victor, who's the state representative for us, and he said that our group over here is one of the most well-respected groups in the state, you know, they're all young, ambitious, and a number of projects that we get done in a year. And so we're recognized for that.
So if nothing else, we got that going for us.
That's a good thing. Oh, agriculture is, you know, you want to talk about green and a good base, you can't get any better.
So that's all I have, Chairman, the Green Committee, you,
I have nothing, sir.
You good? All right.
I had a question regarding, I asked Don Roberts about it yesterday, but when we were doing our little tour of the buildings, I noticed that the solar panel meter reader over at the Ag Center was dark. And I'm like, wonder what's going on with that? Because I've been having issues with my inverter at home, but Don assured me that it's still generating solar power and that he was just trying to find out why the screen was black over there, and hopefully it's back up running.
That's for the solar farm you're talking about at Highway, right?
Yes.
That's the readers of the accent, right?
Yes.
Will we ever hear about that? Like the power station out here in the parking lot.
Is it getting more use?
People use it.
Do we need to put up another one?
Yeah, because this one's not being used, but too well.
We got the grant for that. Hopefully there's a sign, I don't know.
There's a sign.
There is, yeah.
Does anybody ever see anybody?
No, it's on the,
It's used, but not a lot.
The only person I knew that ever used it was that test Sarah, that works for OFA. She used it for a while, and, you know, she compared the cost, of plugging it in at home, and it was cheaper to plug it in at home than it was to plug it in there. So she quit using it. I don't know if anybody ever used it since.
They got one of the areas and they wanted to put it out near the parking lot there. So in order to, we wanted to put someplace else because they wanted to plug off the meter that the town uses for the festival plaza because it's gonna cost them more money to put in another meter. There's been some cars out there, but it's not a big deal. Maybe the cop car will be out there. They bought a Tesla cop car for Village of Perry now. So maybe he'll go out there plugged in. So.
Going green.
My trip down Appalachian Trail, that's in Breezewood, Pennsylvania, if anybody's gone through that all before. And there was 8 Tesla charging ports right there at that intersection. I was in Shenandoah National Park, Skyland camping area. I shouldn't say camping, it's 100 different hotel rooms. And sure enough, there's a Tesla car charging station right there. And everybody was lining right up with them on their Teslas. If you have an electric car, there's an app out there that'll tell you right where this one is.
I would be remiss if I did not.
The next one will probably be like,
Before we adjourn,
it'll probably have to be.
You all have this as an attachment to your agenda and so forth. It's an article from the Adirondack Almanac about no farmland, no food. It supports what we're doing here as far as farmland protection, as well as just what this county is all about. Encourage you to read it if you have not. And I wanted to make mention of it and make mention that, those of us that tune in and listen to this committee that might want to look this up and read what it has to say. It's written from the perspective of a person that lives up in the Adirondacks and works with the Adirondack Land Trust. Here we work with Genesee Valley and so forth, but so there's plenty of these land trusts around. And glad that Wyoming County saw wisdom of joining up with the Genesee Valley Conservancy.
Not to disparage the Adirondacks, if anybody ever seen the farmland.
You don't use a moldboard plow up there.
Let's just call it the North Country, because there includes some very, very good farmland up along that St. Lawrence Way.
Well, yeah, right there, but get up on the hill.
That's a different story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta get north towards the St. Lawrence before you get.
We had a public hearing on a solar law, and we had a couple people show up. And one of the people that was there, he was against solar, because for the very reason, they were taking good farmland. So these large farms that rent a lot of land, so they're gonna have to go farther to get land to feed their cows. So they're using more fuel, putting more emissions in the air. He says, how's it gonna save anything? You know, that was their argument. But what we did put on it was, we can only have 2% of the total land available in the town of Perry to be used for solar. And there's 21,000 acres, so it comes up about 400 acres is all it can be. When it gets to that limit, that's it. I think this cast out is very similar.
yeah.
How big is that, project in Pike? Seems like it's gonna be huge. There's a solar project going in Pike, at the end of Telegraph Road.
They're out on 19 now, too.
Are there,
It's the same
Um,
project. No, it's not the same farm because the one is on what was or still is Elbros. The other is McCormick's, I believe.
yes, McCormick's.
Out on, across from where Remington's are.
Oh, there.
No
But
cover.
it's way out, and I think I think both of those, it's more marginal land. It's not the better farmland. Don't quote me on that, but
The land of significance, something
Yes.
like that. Not prime farmland.
Yes.
Land of significance.
yes.
Probably be private farmland in Sheldon.
What's that?
That would probably be private farmland in Sheldon.
Or Eagle.
Exactly.
Or Eagle.
They have started the one construction.
Not a lot.
There, the one on 408, you know, and that's marginal land too up there, you know, heavy clay.
You know how to make a farmer, from Sheldon and Jacob and multi-millionaire? Move them to the east side of the county.
Mhm.
It's a whole bunch of different stuff going on.
You know, there's things about that, you know, that's all they know is how to farm there. They come over here and they can't do it because it's different. You know, you don't, you know, it's like taking a guy from, you know, clay to gravel.
Any other comments? None, we'll declare. Thank you for all.
Yeah, they're up in Martin.
Mhm, mhm.
Good seeing you guys.
I was told.
Sheldon gravel.
It's McCormick's.
McCormick's.
Yep.
And,
The one on Telegraph is Elbros.